Right, so we're going to talk some CoQ10 and some practical aspects of it too. Obviously, we always do some training, but some more of the practical aspects and things that you're probably going to meet out there in the marketplace. So I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, here we go. Right, so it's CoQ10 that we're talking about. And as always, yeah, I always like to at least go back to some of the basics. And if there are people looking in for the first time, at least to get some perspective about how we do things, how we think, before we actually get into the more marketing and sales aspect of the product this evening. So that is our CoQ10, which, as Drew said, is a very exciting addition, and people are very excited about it. And as we go through the evening, you'll actually be reminded of the different features and near-life differences that make it so exciting and exciting for you to share with others. Right, so just some background information. What's in the name? You're going to see it as CoQ10. That's kind of the general term that people use in the marketplace, but coenzyme Q10 is actually the full name of CoQ10, and the more technical term is ubiquinone, and I'm only mentioning those words because you're going to see them dotted around. So not to suddenly feel like, gee, are we talking about something different now? But CoQ10 is really the general terminology. But you'll see, as I said, there's others. It's not a vitamin, it's not a mineral, it's a fat-soluble substance that the body needs. It's a vitamin-like compound, but it's not sort of in the spread of vitamins and minerals as one would mention. Has many functions. It's a very effective antioxidant, but it's also very important in the production of energy in the body in every single cell. So it transfers molecules along a little energy chain to enable energy to get made. That's why it's called an energy transfer molecule. It plays a significant part, a small little entity, but a very important part that it plays. And found in every single cell, because every single cell, regardless of what it does, requires energy to do what it does. But obviously those that have high energy demands, so many of the organs of the body generally, but if you think about the heart, the liver, the kidneys, this is not because they're diseased, this is because they're just doing their work. They require CoQ10 and energy, of course. So always just back to basics quickly, especially for those who are not familiar with Neolife. We always start at the cellular level, and we always talk about the quality of that little circle or membrane that it actually is, with our nutrients, because we have such a variety of different nutrients that influence not just the way the body works, but the structure and the function of all the different parts of the body. And of course, we're all made of cells. So trillions of them all packed together, all doing different jobs, depending where they are in the body. And that's how we do our little simple graphic to show that nutrients that we eat, things that we swallow, they get into the bloodstream, and they have to eventually get into a cell. And so that's what those green arrows depict. And that little cell is really a little factory. The food or the molecule or whatever the entity is the raw material. That little cell, wherever it is, does its work, requires energy to do that work, and then it exports something somewhere else into the body, and of course will also generate waste that has to be exported. So that's what that very simple little graphic is telling a big story about. And we're all made of cells. And so they have to be fed, they have to be protected, and given the wherewithal to renew and repair themselves. That's the magic amazement of our human body. But what we're doing with this product, which is very exciting, and we don't have to get too bogged down by all the biology, but just to show you that instead of just that round orange circle and green arrows, there's something inside that cell, and very important things. But the one that we're particularly interested in, and a word that we should be familiar with, in terms of chatting to people out there, not to confuse them, but so that you are aware of where your product is focused. And that, of course, is the mitochondria. And that's a little squiggly little entity there. And depending on what the cell has to do and how much work and energy it has to produce will depend or determine how many of those are in that particular cell. So the heart cell, for example, or heart cells will have hundreds of these different mitochondria because that is working so hard, for example. So that's just to give you a sense of it. But I want you to be aware of this because some of the Neolife differences and the features of this product are very specific about looking after this particular mitochondria and making sure that the CoQ10 gets there and is able to do its job. So we're not just making it complicated, we're making it very focused, actually. And that's what it looks like, the little squiggly things. And the interesting thing here, and the reason why I'm showing it to you is because inside the cell, there are little membranes around all the different particles or organelles, as they call them. So it's not just that outer orange circle that we talk about. That's the outer coating of the cell, the membrane. But all those components within the cell have their own little coatings or membranes. And the one that we're talking about, the mitochondria, of course, is no different. And it has a double membrane, an inner and an outer membrane. And this is actually where the CoQ10 goes, right to that little membrane, because that's where the procedure actually happens. This chain, this transfer, the CoQ10 is involved in, of transferring entities so that energy can be made. That's exactly where it works. And if we were to look at it in a different way, open it up properly, it's actually got two little layers. And right there is where CoQ10 works. And it transports substances along this transport chain, and at the end of which the final product is energy in the cell. So we're concerned about membranes in general, as you know, in neolife. The quality of the membrane, the structure, the function, it's pivotal to things getting into the cell, and it's equally pivotal for all the entities that are inside the cell. And in this case, again, we are most concerned about the quality of that membrane so that CoQ10 can get there, survive well, and do its job so that you and I and every cell in our bodies has energy. So you'll notice when we talk about the ingredients, they're all there for a reason and very much focused on making sure that not just that CoQ10 is present in the product, but that all the other components that are necessary to make this whole process happen are also there. That's what's so exciting about this particular product. So that is why it's called CoQ10 Mitochondrial Energy Complex, just so that you know, and you aren't suddenly, somebody asks you what that means. The mitochondria is where the energy actually gets made, and that is why we've made reference to it on our label. So just a reminder of that. So let's have a look at why there's a need, just briefly, just to remind ourselves of who we're going to talk to and what people need CoQ10 for. Well, yeah, right through the life cycle, I mean, we do manufacture, synthesize CoQ10, and that makes sense because we need it for every single cell. But interestingly, and I put there maturing, not aging, because more and more you actually start to realize, and probably in the world of sport, it's most obvious, where people are peaking sort of late teens, early 20s. By 25, they're almost going off a little, and by 35, well, people almost consider them a has-been. In spite of the fact that they're still talented and very fit and very good at what they do, their bodies don't work like it did when they were 25. And a lot of this is attributable to the fact that, yes, we start to age very, very young, actually. So I'm calling it mature, that we actually slowly progress. We don't need to become 80 to be considered old. Our body starts to age quite young, in fact. So at 20 years old, we start to produce slightly less of this CoQ10 than we did when we were 15, for example. And as we get to 40 and 50, we're almost down to 50% of what our capability is in terms of synthesizing this very important little substance that actually enables us to make cellular energy. So something very important that naturally declines as we mature. Then, of course, because it's so important, you would consider and would expect that it would be in the food supply as well. But as we know from many of our other stories and different nutrients that we talk about, there are lots of gaps in our diets, and we know the fruit and vegetables, the whole grains, the fish, and many of these don't just supply the nutrients that we've often just isolated or talked about for a particular product. Remember that you're going to get from CoQ10, for example, out of whole grains. You're going to get it out of fatty fish. You're going to get it out of some of the nuts and seeds. So our plate with all those foods on it will supply not just one or other nutrient, but many from the same food supply. So when there is a gap in that food supply, there's a massive gap in a whole lot of different nutrients. And CoQ10 is actually joining the forces now with all the others that we know are lacking in our diet. The irony, of course, is that when we do have a gap, it often opens the door for disease, for things to go wrong, for oxidation, for inflammation to set in, for the opportunity for disease to take hold. And so, of course, we're very clever in this day and age for medicating many of these things. So we sort of put a Band-Aid on things and medicate. And so very important. I mean, those things keep us alive in many cases. But just this little story just shows, in fact, that some of the medications, in fact, most of them will do their job because they're very targeted, but they often have side effects. And interestingly, just one story relating to CoQ10 is that one of the medications for a very well-known and very highly used one for cholesterol control blocks the pathway that cholesterol is manufactured, and so that controls the level of cholesterol in the blood, but in turn is actually interfering with the pathway in which the body actually synthesizes CoQ10. So we actually, with one way, we actually protect ourselves, and in turn we might actually affect another pathway or another situation in the body and create another problem. So it almost is a vicious cycle, really, that can actually happen. We create it because we're not eating properly and we have gaps, we have to medicate, and in turn we must create another problem without even realizing it. So we have to watch what it is we eat, and we certainly have to watch those dietary gaps that creep in and are more and more becoming wider gaps with a lot of health consequences. So the benefits of the Neolife CoQ10, I want to just highlight those, and we'll reiterate those further along. But what we are focusing on in terms of the product is energy, and of course, as I pointed out, energy for the heart, because it's such a hardworking organ, and of course, for all the muscles. Now, logically, every cell in the body needs energy. So actually, every cell in the body needs CoQ10. But obviously, there are also regulatory requirements and areas that we have to focus on. So we're going to be specifically focusing on energy in general, heart health, and the muscle activity. But be aware that it's necessary for every single cell. And yes, it's definitely going to give a lift and give critical energy to those hard-working organs of the body. As I say, we're focusing more specifically on the heart, because from a regulatory point of view, we're at liberty to say that, and that's why you'll find, and you might find other products on the market that are going to have a long list of things that we haven't itemized, and pretty much because they're not sticking within the requirements of what they're allowed to say. But I'm just giving you the heads up by saying, you know what, it would not be wrong to say it's good for any part of the body, because it is. But we have to focus on certain areas that we are allowed to make reference to, and heart health is definitely one of them. So from these organs' point of view, we would be focusing on people with improving the heart. The heart matters whatever condition your body is in. It's got to keep pumping. It keeps us alive. So we're not necessarily talking about disease here. We're talking about just staying healthy, energetic, and letting every organ do the job it's supposed to do. Right, so this is now actually quite an important aspect. I've talked about it previously, but now we're going to get a little bit more detail and reiterate some of that information later when we do some comparisons. But just to highlight these for you, because I've talked about the mitochondria, we've talked about membranes many, many times. You're all very well versed in that. And so now we're going to talk about why we put these ingredients in and why they matter and why they make this product actually different. Well, first of all, CoQ10 is not a new concept. I mean, as you know, we all need it in terms of every cell. And it's not a new concept in terms of supplementation either. But in fact, we took quite a long time to bring this product to market, or this particular entity, because we wanted to make sure that we could mirror nature, have a backdrop of science, but understand how nature worked and how we were going to enable this little ingredient to do its job properly. And until we could source it from a natural source, we didn't bring it to market. So now that's what we've done. So we've taken it from non-GMO rice bran and from corn and used that as our extract for the actual CoQ10. But that's not where we've stopped. That's the entity we want to introduce to the body for the reasons I've already told you. But we have to enable it to do that job. We have to enable the structures around where it's going to work. That mitochondria, for example, that has to work properly. That has to be in good condition. Its membranes have to be working properly and receptive and responsive in order that CoQ10 can even have an impact. So you'll start to see all these things that we've added to the product go way beyond CoQ10. They're great enablers for it to do its job. So lipids and sterols are not unfamiliar to you. because that's what cell membranes need for function and structure. So we've got them in other products, but we've brought them into this one because where is this product going to go to? To a cell membrane inside the cell. And cell membranes have to be looked after. So they have to have antioxidants. So we've gone to, I just want to show you these foods that we've gone to, rice, for example, to get the vitamin E from there. Vitamin E is an oil-soluble substance. This is in a capsule form, the CoQ10. It's going to an oily area, which is a membrane. So we want an antioxidant that's going to gravitate to a fatty or oily area, because fats will gravitate to fats and watery substances to watery areas. And then red grapes, the color should indicate to you or remind you of flavonoids, for example. So that's flavonoids are part of a whole big group called polyphenols. So we've gone to grape extracts, to the skins of grapes, and we brought the antioxidant component in as well. So it will work not only around the oily areas, but also in the watery areas of the cell. So these are things that should be on our plate of food. This almost is a plate of food. It's just got to have some of these nutrients present, or foodstuffs present, to provide the nutrients. And then we've taken some vegetable oils in order that we can actually enable, because it's an oily substance, we want the body to have, and the product to have oils with it, so that in fact the body recognizes it as an oily substance, sets the oil digesting processes in motion, and enables the product to be digested and become bioavailable. So that's why we've got coconut oil, rice bran oil, and we've got some lecithin from sunflower seeds or sunflower seed oil. So those are enablers because they create the right environment for the ingredient to be present and digested. Excuse me. And even in a protein, amino acid, just to give you a sense of that completeness, because yes, the raw materials can come from our food, but obviously the body has the capacity, an amazing capacity, to generate substances of its own from these different raw materials. And it needs this amino acid in particular to enable the body to make its own antioxidants and protect the insides of the cell itself as the body, not necessarily in any other way that we've been familiar with antioxidants. It produces another substance that it manufactures from these raw materials, and it needs this particular amino acid. And this amino acid you'll find in your spread of amino acids in your shakes, for example. So if we look at this, it's like a plate of food: color, different entities, water-soluble things, oil-soluble things, proteins, grains. That's how important our plate of food is. It brings all these little substances together to enable the body to do its job properly. But what we're doing now is we're copying that. We're recognizing that these things aren't on people's plates of food, and there are huge gaps as a result. So we are putting them in the product to enable the supplement to do a good job. That's very unique, and you'll see that as we go along. Equally unique is that the encapsulation, the technology we've used to encapsulate this CoQ10, remember it's an oil substance, so it's got a capsule. It dissolves, it's a soft gel capsule, and we know that through our technology that it disintegrates, it dissolves, and eventually starts dispersing within 2 minutes of getting through the digestive system. We can observe that because of the technology that we have. And that again is unique. We know that the product is recognized. We know that it is actually, it's accommodated and recognized by the digestive system of the human body. Obviously, everybody's system is slightly different. And if we were to put everything to the test, some people would be a bit longer and some perhaps a bit shorter. But for a general, well-functioning digestive system, 2 minutes is the number. Now that's amazing to actually know that that's what the product does. Put that together with those oils, I said, the coconut oils and the rice bran oil and some of the sunflower seed oils. And that is why we know this product is so well received and so easily recognized and therefore highly effective. So just to remind you, and of course you've seen this before, we've got all these different systems of the body. We are focusing more specifically on the production of energy, but you'll notice it's not just energy because people are lethargic or they're not well. It's energy and fitness. People who are well, who are healthy, who are fit, who are exercisers or sports people, who want to be fitter or stay fit. This is the product. Their muscles are doing work for them and they need CoQ10. So we're not out there looking for the people who are not well. We certainly want to assist them, but you want to keep people who are healthy, healthier. And of course, everybody's heart, in whatever stage of your life you are, and whatever stage of health you are, It's fundamental, it's a pivotal organ. It has to keep pumping regardless of what's going on around it in order that we actually stay alive. But you wouldn't be wrong to actually introduce CoQ10 into any of these systems that you can see under our targeted solutions. Right, so that's a basic sort of background that many of you have heard, and we're now going to get into some of sort of the questions that seem to have popped up and some of the things you are encountering in the marketplace. And of course, one of them, of course, would be, okay, so let's talk about the price. And some people are saying, well, you know, you guys are expensive. And so let's get some perspective on this. So what I've done is there are various ways to present this. You know, there's all sorts of permutations in different ways. But I thought I would just show it in this way. Try and get this thing out of the way. Yeah, so we've got the number of capsules, obviously the selling price, the cost per capsule, the cost for the monthly supply, and then bringing everything up to 100 milligram concentration, because that's the recommended scientific data. That's what we've based our concentration on all the research that's been done, and 100 milligrams a day seems to be the recommended amount. So to be fair, I've given everybody, you know, all the different products that we've looked at an opportunity to be identical in terms of the concentrations and as a month's supply. So CoQ10, yeah, so I'll go through it very briefly, but just to explain how I'm working it. So we have done 60 capsules, so they're 2 capsules a day. And there's some talk about the fact that it's not a bad idea to split it. You would take it with a meal preferably, but you can split it to enable the energy to be available all the time. So that's how we've done it in 2 capsules a day, but gone up to your 100 milligrams. So our $7.59 is the retail price, $25.30 is the cost of a capsule. And, you know, to get some perspective, yes, I know everybody's on a budget and what have you, but you can sit in any little coffee shop and you quite happily and easily spend 25 Rand on a cup of coffee, depending which coffee shop you're at. And very likely to say, well, let's have another one. So before you know it, you've probably spent somewhere between 50 and 100 Rand just on a little chit chat in the morning. And yet people will say, whoa, that's expensive. I think we have to remind people that poor health is expensive. And when we get perspective like that, this is the reason why I put in the cost of the capsule and the sort of daily cost. So yeah, ours is a month supply, so it's $7.59 for the 100 milligrams, and it will go for the cost for the month. Okay, then we go to some other products. You'll see that then I've highlighted the concentrations of the products. And I'm going to talk you through it. I think it's important because if you just look to the right, for example, of all the things I've just been talking about in terms of the ingredients in our product, these are active components. These are not tableting agents or you know, the encapsulation things. They are actual actives that are helping this product to do its job. So they are there for a reason. And I think you can start to see as you look down the list that the others are a lot more scant. And it's not because these are from their websites that we've got information from their labels, and taken out all the tableting and, you know, filling agents that are part of a tablet or a capsule, and just put the actives on the products. And you'll start to see already what it is that we've just talked about in terms of the sterols, the vitamin E, and the grape seeds and grape extracts, and the proteins, and all the components I've already mentioned. They are the near-life differences, and they are the reasons for the being of this product, for the fact that it works. And that is what we're paying for. So if we go to the second one, which is 120 milligrams per capsule, so that's your 100 milligrams is being met in one dosage a day. But someone's put their hand in their pocket and taken out a lot more than your 759 Rand. So people are saying, oh, you're 4 times more expensive than everybody else. Well, we're not actually. So that's 834 Rand, and so that's costing them 27.80 Rand per capsule. But to be fair, it is 120 milligrams. So what I decided to do, even though people have to put their hand in their pocket and take out 834 Rand, I brought it down to 100 milligrams, and it would be the equivalent of 695 Rand. The splurge that they give on their product is, yes, it's coenzyme Q10, which we would expect. The form there is their sort of marketing component, and this is to some extent, and I didn't get too involved in it, and we don't have to, but You can look it up, and they talk about the fact that it's a very pure source. It's one of the purest in America and various other things, which is fine. And then the only other claim to fame is that it's got a vegetable capsule shell, which of course is very important to many people. And now people will wonder why it is that we don't have a vegetable-based outer casing. Well, we don't do that to be difficult. We do it because at the moment, we know that the soft gel that we are using, which is gelatine-based and which is animal-based, is the best product for the job. And we've done it, we do it right through our range because it helps to keep the quality and the integrity of the ingredients the way we would like them to be. It dissolves the way we would like. All the technology I was talking about, the outer the casing or that capsule is very, very important and an integral part of its success. And the fact that we don't have to have preserving agents and things like that. So that is the reason why we do it at the moment. If we could find a vegetable-based substance that could encapsulate our product and hold it the way we would like it to and have it perform the way we know it does, we would certainly do that. But at the moment, that's not part of what we have found in terms of technology even. Right, so that's what that particular product is. Then the third one is actually, this is in fact another multi-level marketing company. And so they have a product that is 30 milligrams per capsule, and their recommendation is 1 to 3 a day. So you put your hand in your pocket for 697 Rand. And as I've shown you there, if you only take one capsule, for which you're only getting 30 milligrams, which is not the recommended amount or the optimal amount, then it's going to cost you 11 Rand something a day. And obviously if you take 3, 34, 35 Rand. But even still, if you take the 3 a day, it's actually going to cost you over 1,000 Rand to take the 3 a day for this product. And yet it doesn't suggest that when you pay your 697 Rand, it's not going to last you a month. And if we take it up to 100 milligrams, just to even out the score here, you're going to be paying 1,160 odd Rand for this particular product. So I think you'll start to see that our product is particularly well priced, given what it has to offer. The fact that it's based in science, 100 milligrams is a sort of, an accepted recommendation. And it lasts a month and has all the other credentials that we've talked about already. This particular product, yes, it's CoQ10. It does have some citrus concentrates. I think it's got some mandarin and lemon and grapefruit. So it's got some antioxidant value. It's spirulina, which has got a whole variety of different applications, but they don't specify its benefits. I don't know what the Pacifica is because we couldn't find any information about it. And they also have a gelatine capsule. So I'm assuming they are suggesting that they have an animal-based gelatine. But I wanted you just to get a sense of those are I've gone in descending order of cost. And some of them are more expensive than the Neolife one and don't have half what they have to offer in terms of what Neolife has to offer. I'm sure you'll agree with that. And so we go further down to different concentrations, 420, but that's only got 80 milligrams. Take it up to 100 milligrams. It's actually going to cost you 525. And all that they have to talk about on the label, once you take away all the other bits and pieces, is that it's got, yes, palm and coconut oil and some lecithin, which is actually the agents that we have also used to enable it to be bioavailable. So that's a beneficial agent. But other than that, there's nothing specific, nothing extra. If you've noticed, there's nothing now in any of these products that are actually talking about looking after the mitochondria, looking after the mitochondrial membrane, ensuring that we have antioxidants that protect not only the CoQ10, but the membrane as well, so that in fact, CoQ10 can live in that membrane, arrive, do its job, which is to make energy, help the energy chain happen. There's nothing in any of these products that actually suggest that they are looking after the structure and the function of the surrounding areas, not just the CoQ10. It's like cooking or baking, I would imagine. You could have fantastic ingredients, you throw them all in a pot but you don't blend it properly, or you don't prevent it from curdling and all the other things that the gourmets would know about. There are ways to treat ingredients so that you get the final product that you want. You not just throw them all into the pot and put it in the oven and say, well, I did all the right things. That's exactly what Neolife have done. They've gone through every single process and got an ingredient for every single one of those processes to make sure that the final product is what it should be. And we even know how quickly it dissolves and gets to work. So that is what you're paying for. So further down here, I think it's fairly self-explanatory. As you can see, the information gets pretty scant, and the price does go down. And I suppose I should say you get what you pay for, really. The two bottom ones, the CoQ10 Intensive, these are both South African products. The CoQ10 Intensive is 150 milligrams. But all it's got to say for itself is that it's 150 milligrams of CoQ10 and it's a VG capsule, and we don't really know whether it's protected, it's got any antioxidants, does it get to the mitochondrial membrane, what control, what quality is there, what state is the mitochondria in. There's anything extra here. But yes, it's cheaper. And if you're going to pay R5.80 for the capsule, I guess that's what you'll get. So some CoQ10, and a little bit of antioxidant, also a South African brand. So that's just to give you a sense of what it is you have in your hand. And that's why I know those near-life differences are important. And yes, the words sound a bit complicated, but they're actually not that difficult. You know about lipids and sterols. You know about tocotrienols, that's vitamin E. You've heard about polyphenols. You've heard about flavonoids. You know about amino acids. So these are not new things. We just got to get them into our mind and start to people to realize, this is the real deal. This is getting not just CoQ10 into the system. It's important. But we're making sure that the system knows what to do with the CoQ10 and that it all gels and works well together. So yes, we've never been a cheap product and we don't profess to be one, but that's what we're paying for. But I think you'll see that others are, in some cases, more expensive with much less to offer, actually. So I hope that's answered that question. Right, so let's look at some of the other questions that seem to have popped up, and I'm sure there are others, but people have said, is near-life CoQ10 safe? Well, CoQ10 is an entity that the body recognizes. I think there've been something like over 200 different clinical studies that have been done on CoQ10 as a supplement, and there've not been any distinct or specific adverse effects on anybody in these tests. So by and large, yes, it's a totally safe entity, and it's something obviously the body needs, and it does recognize if delivered in an appropriate way. Are people asking what age should someone start taking CoQ10? Some people have asked, can children take it? Well, I think I've addressed that issue about the sort of 20-year-old when it starts to diminish. So, you wouldn't necessarily give it to a 12 or 13-year-old particularly, because they are, they're at their peak, they're at their growth phase, they are developing, and their body is working generally optimally. Obviously, there are some issues, you'd have to talk to the doctor about that, but that's not really the starting point. We would say from about 20, 25, not as late as 25, perhaps, you could definitely supplement. And certainly someone who's playing sport, for example, this would be very, very beneficial for them, even though they are that young. People have asked, obviously, if they're pregnant or breastfeeding, if they can take the CoQ10. By and large, yes, but we have to, as a company, always say, you have to respect what your doctor is. He's your support system or she's your support system. So, you need to be, just to let them know from a professional point of view that you would like to take it. So everybody's circumstances are different. But as I say, nothing foreign to the body, but just check with your medical practitioner. Yes, always, if I'm currently on medication, can I take near-life CoQ10? There's, as I say, a totally natural substance, but of course, everybody's maybe on medication for different reasons. And so we have to, as a company, say, recommend it, but please just tell your doctor that you are taking it so that they don't have any unexpected things or something changes or, for the better, and they're not really understanding it. One of the medications, I'm just going to mention it, blood thinners are something that people are quite commonly on these days. There are some studies to show, again, it's going to be an individual reaction, but some of the blood thinners are affected, perhaps not as efficient in some people when they take CoQ10, so that definitely needs to be checked with the doctor. It's not that there's something wrong with the CoQ10, it's just that there might be a different medication, and we want people to be familiar. This is obviously quite a delicate situation if you're on a blood thinner, and a lot of people are these days. So just make sure that people do confer with their doctor. What is the best time to take it? Well, the best time to take it is with a meal, so you can decide which meal it is. because it's oil soluble, it's going to piggyback on digestive processes more effectively, and it's going to sort of, if you like, move around the body and within the bloodstream more efficiently. There is talk, and I think that's one of the reasons why we've split our dose into 2 capsules, is to actually separate the dose. So if you take, because it's energy we're looking for, so if we take one in the morning, for example, and perhaps another one after lunch, that could be an optimal way to do it. You can, of course, take both at the same time, not a problem. For some people, they can take supplements, even energy-producing supplements at night, and they sleep well. Others, it affects their sleep. So since we're looking energy, but it's energy in general, it's energy that's happening all the time. You find your best time, but I would suggest probably during the day is probably your better optimal way to do it. Yeah, there's somebody saying, as I think they do, look, I'm taking a lot of products, I'm taking a multivitamin, why should I need CoQ10? Well, as I pointed out, it's not really a vitamin or a mineral, so it's not really going to take the place of any of these others, but there are other nutrients, obviously, that help us to release energy, help the body also in this transfer process of where CoQ10 is involved. Some of the vitamin Bs, for example, are working right there alongside CoQ10. But it doesn't, they all have a job of work to do. So the one doesn't take the place of the other. That's why we have such a variety of foods on our plate, ultimately, because they all deliver something different, and the body might need one of those nutrients for something else at that particular moment. So then it's not going to necessarily conflict or take the place of CoQ10. They're going to cover for one another, if you like. So I'm sure you've noticed, and people do ask, why don't you just put all of this into one tablet? It would be so much more convenient. You know, that would be like, as I say, throwing all those ingredients into one pot and hoping that the pot knows what to do. You're not going to get the best out of every single ingredient, which is why we go to such lengths in all our products to put those extra details into the product to make sure that that ingredient is going has an optimal opportunity to do its job and to get there. And when it gets there, that the entity that it's going to work with is fully functional and operational. So to throw it all into one big product, you know, first of all, it would be a big product because that tablet or capsule would have to be huge in order to accommodate adequate amounts of these things. So what happens is you simply have to dilute the amount that you put in everything, put it in there and hope that your body would recognize it. So we're not going to throw it in with a whole lot of other things. It has a job of work to do, and you can see we are pretty intent on making sure it gets where it's going to do that job. So if you're taking a multivitamin, you certainly can take CoQ10 as well. But of course, we have products that are not just multivitamins. You know that we have treanin that we generally put with our multivitamin because, again, there's a feature that says you're swallowing different nutrients, whether it's a supplement or whether it's a food. But does it ever get into your cell? Well, that's what treanin's job is, to make sure that that orange circle that I showed you in the beginning is receptive, flexible, fluid, and is able to receive those nutrients. So I'm talking, and so what we do with treanin, we've kind of positioned that product, most of us in our minds, is that it helps to produce energy. The reason why you feel more energetic when you take treanin is because that cell is receiving everything so much more efficiently. So everything that you're swallowing, as I say, whether it be a food, whether it be a supplement, is able to enter that cell more efficiently. So that cell can work with that nutrient. So your body and that cell, you know, which is made up of so many, your body, which is made up of so many cells, they can all do their job much more efficiently. That's why we actually feel more energized. So the difference between these two products is that treanin is an enabler. It actually works on the structure and the function of the cell membrane to enable nutrients like CoQ10, plus all others, to get into the cell and go and do what they have to do. So while they sound similar, because they're both energy linked in our minds, one is very specifically different from the other in where it actually works in the energy production process. So they can definitely be taken together. They don't have to be separated, and they don't have to be alternated one day or the other. They're not conflicting anywhere, they're actually enhancing one another. And if you noticed with all those different ingredients I was talking about, CoQ10 actually has some of the treanin components. It has the lipids and sterols. Not as many and is not as concentrated. It has about just 300 milligrams of the soy and the rice-based ones. Your treanin has 675 milligrams, This particular product, CoQ10, doesn't have a wheat-based lipid and sterol component. So it's still got the soy and the rice, but it doesn't have the wheat. So that for some people might be an important thing from a digestive point of view. So they're similar in the fact that they have some of the similar ingredients. They're both, some more directly, CoQ10 is more directly related to making energy. Treonine is an enhancer that enables energy to be made. So that's pretty much the difference. But do they complement each other? Absolutely. In fact, yes, we want treonine around those cell membranes so that CoQ10 can be one of those green arrows that gets into the cell and gets where it's going. So they complement each other perfectly. In fact, we feel so good about it. We've actually drawn some little pictures to say that they are the perfect duo. And in fact, they love each other. And they do a really good job together for our bodies. So I hope that's put that sort of in perspective. And if you're, which we do, we tend to start everybody off on treonine. Well, CoQ10 is right there holding its hand to make sure our bodies work efficiently. Yeah, so that's what I have to share. I hope that that's covered some of the issues that you've met out there in the marketplace, and perhaps just clarified some of the issues for you and just reminded you of what an amazing product this is and what a lot of stuff there is built into this product that makes it so unique and worth every cent. So that's me. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, Liz. Thank you so much. Man, wasn't that fascinating? Absolutely fascinating. So Liz, what I'm going to do, a couple of questions that have come into the Q&A section and a couple onto the comments section. I'm just going to give you a minute to go and have a look at those if you can. I don't know if you're going to get a chance to answer all of them, but if you can have a look at them, and we'll get back to that in a moment. And while you're looking at them, I just want to say that was such a comprehensive presentation, and it answered so many questions in my mind. You know, specifically that cost comparison, where you see all the added benefits of our CoQ10. It's not just a CoQ10. And that just takes me back to our philosophy, is we use nature as our blueprint, based in nature, backed by science. Very often these nutrients that we find in nature in our diet come with so many different aspects that enhance that. And you can see we've replicated that in this product, which answered so many questions for me. So thank you, Liz. But I think the biggest thing is, you know, this information gives you confidence, but I know this product works because I take it, and this product has given me more energy than I know what to do with. Not that I didn't have energy before it, but I have truly felt the difference on this product. So get out there and use this product. And I want to share my screen and just show you a couple of testimonies of people who are using this product. And these slides ain't pretty, but I just quickly copied and pasted some emails and some WhatsApp messages that have been sent on this product. The first one is from Krishna Dolman, and she says, now one of the reasons I wanted to use the CoQ10 was the constant muscle pain I was experiencing on my upper right arm, or my upper arm, a kind of weakness as well. So I started using it, and within a short period of time, the pain disappeared and I regained more strength in that muscle. Isn't that interesting? Also, because I have a family history of heart disease, I thought it was perfect to take it for my heart muscle health as well. And what I experienced above all is more energy and a greater stamina to do what needs to be done every day. I have so much more peace of mind since taking CoQ10, of course, together with all our other important supplements. And that's one of our president's team members, Krishna Dolman. Amazing testimony. The next testimony is from Gavin Jones. Now, Gavin Jones is somebody I know in Durban. He's one of our distributors, our Nila family. And Gavin says, Pro Vitality. Now, Gavin is a very competitive hockey player. Pro Vitality for general wellness, Sports Shake for sustainability during your training, game, ride. Full motion for those old joints and knees and those creaky joints that happen, right? CoQ10 for energy. Now, he's just added the CoQ10 to his nutrition regime. CoQ10 for the energy needed to complete the task to the best of your ability. The products mentioned above are the products that enable me to run around the hockey turf with energy, and have been one of the reasons for my selection to represent SA in the Grand Masters World Cup in Tokyo in October this year. Wow. Okay, so you take a lot of nutrition, but you really notice when you added CoQ10 to that, And the last testimony is from Sean Thorncroft. Now, Sean is based down in Margate, south coast of KZN. And get this, I think this is an amazing testimony. After the first week of taking CoQ10, I ran my personal best park run time, taking 3 minutes off my previous time, my previous best time. And for anyone who runs park runs on a Saturday morning, will know to knock 3 minutes off a previous best, it's not something you do very easily. The only thing that I'd done differently was add CoQ10 to my daily nutrition. What really convinced me was the second week of taking this product, I knocked another 2 minutes off my park run. So I think Sean has knocked off between 4 and 5 minutes off his park run time since taking CoQ10. My day-to-day energy has been impacted significantly, and my cardio function when I do high intensity runs is just so much better when taking CoQ10. So guys, those are great testimonies, and I really want to hear more testimonies, please, from all of you that are taking this product. And so I think in any situation, your life is better when you have energy. When you have energy, you can better serve your family. When you have energy, you're better in your career. When you have energy, you can better serve your church. When you have energy, life is just so much better. And for those of you who, you don't have to be a professional athlete to be your best. For those of you that get out on weekends, you want to beat your personal best time. You want to beat your buddy on that racetrack or in that park run or on the mountain bike trail. CoQ10 is your friend to do that job. So Liz, I'm going to ask you to come back to us. I hope I have given you enough time. I can see a lot of messages coming in. You want to tackle a couple? We've got a few minutes.
Okay, yeah, I just went into the Q&A thing. So one of the questions was, if I'm taking Lipotropic adjunct, can I still take this? Would it be too much vitamin E? No.
Yeah.
If there's any vitamin E in Lipotropic, it's not a significant amount. And the vitamin E in this product is a complementary thing. It's not meant to be a vitamin E specifically. It's not the vitamin E supplement. It's there as the antioxidant. So they would complement each other very well, in fact.
Okay.
Yeah. Then somebody was saying, can we get a copy of the info? For sure. We've recorded this, so we can certainly get the copy of the things. What is the gelatine made from? It's a beef derived gelatine. Then someone was, now this is the sort of question we do get asked quite often, and I want to just put it in perspective, which is someone saying, I've got a serious heart condition, can I take CoQ10? Now, to be fair to us, that's not something we could answer yes or no to. You would have to confer with your cardiologist or your medical practitioner or medical team, because heart conditions can be anything. And while this is focused on heart, remember I said it's not necessarily a disease, it's the heart to pump. And cardiologists recommend CoQ10 quite frequently, but it has to be at the appropriate time under the appropriate circumstances. So it really isn't something that Neolife could be responsible for saying yes or no to, but it's certainly a good, intelligent question to ask your cardiologist or your medical team. Someone else also mentioned that they often give CoQ10 when people are taking a statin, and that was what I made reference to earlier. We're not really talking about, we're not allowed to give people's names out in terms of medications, but since the question got asked, a statin is a common, very broadly used medication for cholesterol, for controlling cholesterol, and there are many different statins, in fact. And in fact, I guess that's true because, okay, medications, there are lots of blood pressure medications too, because not everything agrees with everybody. But the one side effect of statins that actually probably has prevented 25% of people who probably need that medication from actually taking it are the side effects. And some of them are so unpleasant that, as I say, 25% of people who are prescribed it choose not to take it. And that's a lot of muscle pain and soreness. And while it's not an absolute fact, it's certainly very well documented and looked into in many years, actually. But remember, I said some of the cholesterol medication, which is very targeted and very effective in doing that job, is working to block the manufacture of cholesterol along the very same pathway that CoQ10 happens to come along in the systems of the body. So it actually hinders the natural synthesis or manufacture of CoQ10 in the human body because of this medication. And it's thought that the relationship between the two might be that is why people have muscle pain and discomfort and soreness. And that's why sometimes CoQ10 is recommended to counter that side effect, if you like. So we take it from a supplemental point of view because we're not good at making it internally because of that process. It's a side effect of the medication, so we take it externally as a supplement to combat or counter that problem. That's the thinking. So that's why people get recommended statins when they're on statins to take CoQ10. And there was just a nice one from Lisa Burr saying that some of her triathletes were taking it and didn't get the whole story and was benefiting very well. So that was great. And I think Kerry Ann was asking about swimming and using it. You know what? It generates energy. That's what it's supposed to do. It will help you in different ways. And so it's worth a try. And then we'd like to hear your story because I think you'll have a positive one. So those are some of the questions that came along, Drew.
Liz, just Ina O'Reilly's asking if 100 milligrams per day is the recommended amount to take, how will more than 100 milligrams per day affect the body? Say it's 150 or 200.
Yeah, well, that's not excessive. You know, we got you'll see that some of those were 120. I think that was the highest in the comparison that I had. So it's it's not going to be excessive, but the general recommendation is, from a scientific point of view, is that seems to be the optimal level.
Okay.
I can't really vouch for what it's going to do to somebody. I shouldn't think that 150 would be excessive, but I mean something like 500 milligrams would not be necessary because the body just not working with it in the right way.
Okay. The question regarding Lipotropic. How does CoQ10 compare with Lipotropic? Are they different?
Yes, they are different because Lipotropic is quite a multifaceted product. I mean, it's got agents in it that are keeping oils and watery substances, in a solution, which is difficult. So that's why it's got inositol and choline to do that. It's got some of the vitamin Bs in it that are going to help the homocysteine cycle to work more efficiently so that it doesn't elevate homocysteine, which is a contributor to heart disease. So it's good for circulation, good for homocysteine. And then it's got some flavonoids in it, which help to keep the arteries flexible and moving. So it's a very, very effective little product because it's very multifaceted. Now you come with CoQ10, which is now going to be the energizer for the heart in all cells of the body. So it's going to keep that heart pumping, and all the circulatory components are going to be working in good condition. So they actually complement each other perfectly.
Great. Okay, so they complement each other. That's very important. Jill, I think Jill's question has been answered. Apparently, it's often prescribed for those on statins. Why is this? Which you've answered that one. Another question, which I think is interesting: can somebody taking ARVs take CoQ10?
I don't see why not, but there's a case of I'm on a medication sort of thing. So, confer with your doctor if you choose to. I really don't see that there's a problem with that. I don't know if there was some blood thinning component coming into the picture, then I would say yes, check it out. But it's actually going to be a good energizer. I think that'd probably feel great. Okay, good. And just to get back to Kerry Ann's question, there's a question and kind of answer. Would this help with my breathing and swimming? Have started taking CoQ10 and haven't been breathless while I swim and be trying to figure out if this is the difference. And I think that's very similar to Sean Thorncroft's kind of, the only thing that had changed was taking CoQ10 and it improved his parkrun time significantly. So, hey, very possible. And I know you do a lot of cold water swimming in Cape Town, so that's awesome. Liz, one more from Paul. And I don't know if you don't have to answer this if you don't have an answer to it. Is there any evidence of helping with specific chronic conditions, the CoQ10 nutrient? Well, as I said, the chronic condition that is well known, it would be heart health. Cardiologists I know because I've actually spoken to one who's, is not unfamiliar in their sort of terminology and, in this things that they recommend to people. But there is an application for it for the individual. So, all the organs of the body that the hardworking ones would need it. And I think heart health is probably the most specific because it's well researched. I don't know what the chronic condition is, and I wouldn't be able to be specific about a chronic condition. So, you can't, you'd have to have information.
Okay. Okay. And I see Lisa has just said there's a story of grateful COVID recovery. I guess it comes back down to the cardio aspect. And Adelina, on your translation, just once again, thank you for doing the translation for us. I see there is a question in Portuguese, which I can't translate, unfortunately. So we'll take that question. I'll ask Liz, and we'll get back to Orlando with the answer to her question. And so, guys, just to round this off, I'm reading the comments, and I'm so stoked. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm so happy that you guys got so much value out of this training session. Let's use this product. Let's go and get this product into our customer base. Let's share. There's such a need for a product like CoQ10, not just any CoQ10 product, but Neolife's CoQ10. And now I really believe every one of us is armed with information, so we can go and share the Neolife difference. Why Neolife's product over anything else out there on the market? And Liz, as always, you've been awesome, so concise in your training and your presentation. We appreciate you hugely. So good night to all of you. This is the last week of the month. Make it count. Let's get out there and make a positive impact on the lives of other people. Step out of our comfort zones. That is our job as a Neolife distributor, to get uncomfortable and go and really touch other people's lives. So good night. Have a great week. We'll see you all soon.